Hello and welcome to Cutter Farms. We're back with another episode of County of 40 Mile by Camil Mapping, and today we're going to be wrapping up our harvest, and we've also got a few other surprises up our sleeve. The first thing that we want to do is get this canola field opened up here. If you remember from spring, we actually didn't lime this smaller field here on the angled rows, and so we're going to be doing a little bit of a side-by-side comparison today. And so I wanted to make sure that we came in here with the combine and took this pass off between the two fields just to make sure that we don't mix these two crops up so that we can actually compare yield side by side. We've got a fair amount of this field here that we're going to be able to do this comparison in. And so we're not going to pay too much attention to this initial headland row. Once we get the two 9Ts running here on the main field, we'll be able to hop in and see what yield we're getting on these combines compared to the 10T that we're going to run up this smaller field with. I did a live stream just before this episode in which we grabbed a 10T to help us get through harvest a little bit faster. We were more than able to keep up with all three combines with our one grain cart and our semis, and so it really helped us get through that large canola field a little bit faster, and I thought it was a great way to kind of speed up harvest a bit. This will be the fourth episode if we include the live stream that we've been going through harvest. In case you didn't see the thumbnail, we're going to be putting in some winter crops here and using a brand new setup. We've got a bit of demo equipment here from the local John Deere dealer, and we're going to be able to hopefully put down both seed and anhydrous at the same time. But before we get started on that, I definitely want to get this field opened up and get the workers going on harvest. And then once they're going, I think we're going to be able to keep up with the grain carting as well as go get a head start on putting in some of our winter seed. If we look at the seasons menu here, you can see we did advance a couple of days to get into the planting season for winter-based crops. And so we're going to probably be putting in some wheat and likely some canola in our fields. I believe wheat and canola rotate pretty well based on the season's information. In fact, if we look here real quick, I've already looked at the crop rotation plan here, and you can see here that canola and wheat do indeed offset each other very well. All right, we are just about full here. I'm really hoping we make it to the end of this field, but I'm looking a little bit skeptical here at 96%. I don't think that's going to happen. So let's go ahead and just jump out here. We'll let this worker go until she gets full, and then we'll go ahead and grab the grain cart and get it fired up and brought down here so that we can dump into the grain cart here real quick, get that combine moving again. And then I think all we need to do is take one more headland pass off of this end of the field just so we're not turning around on the other crops. I think that there's enough of a grass overlap down on the other end that the combines should avoid falling off the edge. We'll see, I guess. So as soon as we get this emptied out, I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and put it back on a worker here and let this combine do the up and down rows starting on this end of the field. And then I'm going to go grab combine number 2, and we're going to take that extra headland pass off here between the two fields. And then we'll start that combine off in the middle of the field and have it cut through. And then at some point here, we'll get both of them going on the inside track probably. But for now, I think it's going to be fine if we just let this guy work on the far end here. The other reason that we want to take another headland pass off is to have the workers avoid running into the trucks, hopefully. I know that these big combines with the large headers like this have a tendency to need quite a bit of room to turn around on the end rows here. Now, given that we made it almost all the way around the field with combine number 1 there before we got full, I'm feeling pretty confident that we're going to be able to both take this headland pass off and then bring combine number 2 back here into the middle of the field and get cut through. And I'm probably going to let the hired worker do the cut through because I really want to get the 10T going on the other piece of land here real quick and just make sure that we're going to be able to record the data for precision farming on the difference on yield between this field and the lime field that we have, or the field over here that we didn't apply lime to. And so let's go ahead and bring our HUD up here and look at the precision farming map real quick. You can see we're in this loam style ground here, and you can see that we're bringing in just short of 77 bushels an acre in this part of the field. And so what I'll be curious to see is, as we jump over into this other field with the 10T, what our bushels per acre are going to be on the area that we haven't limed yet. We also have a section here in the far corner that's going to be silty clay, and so we're going to be able to see what the yield is in that section of the field as well. And you can see here, as we've transitioned into the silty clay, we went from 77 bushels an acre down to 55 bushels an acre. And so that's a fairly significant yield difference for those two soil types when we've applied all the same levels of nitrogen and lime, or I should say the optimal levels of nitrogen and lime for those soil types. And so seeing a 22 bushel an acre drop from 77 down to 55, that's significant. I'll be curious to see if it's the same 22 bushel an acre drop as we get into the lime area, or if that delta is actually wider. So with the headland pass taken off here, we're going to go ahead and run back down here to about the middle of this field and start the worker off cutting through on this field. We're only 36% full, so we should be in a pretty good spot to do this. I think this looks about good. With the workers going on this main field now, we're going to go ahead and grab the 10T, and this is a demo from the dealer. Well, actually, I should say it's a lease from the dealer. We are paying by the hour for this vehicle. And so we're going to go ahead and dive into this field. And once we get going here, we're going to take a quick look at our yield numbers. And so our yield is jumping around just a little bit here. I suspect it's because we're on the edge of the field here and picking up some of the grass area. And so we're going to wait until we get into the second pass to really do a side-by-side comparison with the other field. And just taking a quick look at where our combines are at, it looks like our first combine is about to get to the end row and turn around here and be in a good spot to be unloaded. And since I really want to be doing this test manually here so that we can see where we're at, I think I am going to stop as we get to the end of the field here and jump over into the grain cart and go empty those combines, because we've got a lot of harvesting to do. And I want to make sure that we're able to knock those acres out while we're doing these miscellaneous other tests. And it looks like our other combine has managed to do the turnaround here after cutting through and is facing the correct way, so that I should be able to get down there and empty that combine as well. And so we're going to hit both of these combines real quick here and then go back and finish up our yield tests here. All right, we've got the headland all taken off here, and we're gonna get going down this long row again. And now we shouldn't be fighting with the edge of the field, so we should get a read on our yield here. As you can see, we're in that silty clay area, and we're coming in at about 51.7, and that's compared to the 55.1 that we were on before. And so we're definitely seeing a little bit of a drop from not having the lime on over here. That's a 3.4 bushel drop from the other field. I'll be curious to see what it is as we transition into the loam area here in just a second. And so here we're in the loam area of the field, and we're at a 72.3. And so the delta between the two areas is actually a little bit, instead of the 22 bushel an acre difference we had in the other field, because it was yielding 77 and 55, here we're seeing just a little bit more of a delta, it looks like, between 74.6 compared to 51.7. And so lime does definitely have an effect on the soil yields. And the worse that the soil type is, that delta continued to grow. So we've lost quite a few bushels an acre here, I'd say, especially in the silty clay part of the field. And so given these results, I think next year we'll definitely take the time to make sure we're putting all of the lime down in the areas that need it, as I really don't want to be taking such a significant hit to our yield, especially in crops with such a low yield to begin with. So with that, I think it's time for us to go ahead and grab our grain cart here real quick. We're going to get these two combines emptied out while they've got their augers facing into the center part of the field here. and then we're gonna jump over and take a look at this demo unit we got from John Deere and start seeding some fields. So we've got the full setup here. We've got a 9RX sitting here, hooked up to a edited version of Custom Modding's 1870 seeder, their C850 air cart, and then Forward Ag has also sent this awesome anhydrous ammonia tank that hooks up and looks really nice with this seeder. And so everything's been modified to allow the seeder to apply nitrogen during the seeding process. All of the hoses and cables and everything hook up and get run through here, so you can see that we've got some additional hoses and everything just fits together and looks really sweet. I think what we're gonna do is head on out here to our wheat field on the far end of the farm and give this thing a shot there. That's a nice long field. We should be able to really put it through its paces. We've got a fairly big tractor here, but this is a lot of weight hooked up to this whole rig. And I'm gonna turn on my HUD for this. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing unfolded. And what I wanna be able to do is show off the mini map here with the precision farming all set up. Because I believe once we get going here, we're gonna actually be able to see our nitrogen values getting applied to this soil. And so I've got the C850 cart set up with just seed in it. And then we have the anhydrous ammonia here in the back tanks. And so if we go ahead and turn this seeder on, we've got it set to canola because this was a wheat field previously. And then as we get started here, you can see that we've got the nitrogen map popping up from precision farming. And you can see that it's starting to turn green there. If we bring up our F1 menu and close out that map so that we can see it, you can see we're applying the appropriate nitrogen levels here for our canola in the sandy loam soil type that we're in. And so it looks like this is all set up and working appropriately with precision farming, which is awesome. And it's allowing us to put anhydrous ammonia down, which is something that I've always enjoyed using. And the anhydrous ammonia should be a more concentrated form of nitrogen, and so it should allow us to get a little bit farther in the field here. I know that when we were seeding with the dry fertilizer in the tanks, we were having to reload our dry fertilizer quite frequently. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get lined up on the edge of the field here, and then we're gonna get a worker going here as well, just to make sure that works. And I'll say the one downside of having a rig this long is you can't actually zoom out far enough to get a good look at it from behind. You've got to kind of look at it at an angle from the side. I know a lot of people are going to ask about this setup, and so I'm going to put a link to Forward Agriculture in the description of this video. And this setup I think is one of his first mods, and so I'm not sure what his plans are to release this particular mod out to the public, but I know he's working on several other anhydrous carts at the moment that he does plan to release. And so he's been kind enough to send me some early previews of a few things that he's working on. And so I strongly recommend, if you're looking for upcoming anhydrous mods, that you check out his Facebook page. I'm also going to link his YouTube channel in the description of this video, as he's started to try and get into the YouTube scene as well. And I know he'll be showing off a lot of his own mods in those videos, and so it's a great way to kind of get a sneak peek at some of the stuff that he might have coming up. I also want to give a shout out to Finlay Farms, which I'll link in the description below as well, as I know he's been working with Forward Agriculture and doing a lot of testing and helping get to this point where I'm able to put this out in a series and show it off to you guys. So at least for me personally, I'm absolutely loving this mod. I'm loving that there's a lot more anhydrous type equipment coming out to FarmSim 19. I know there's a lot of interest in that because I put out a tutorial video on how to add anhydrous to your map, and I got a lot of traffic, a lot of comments about it. And so it seems like there's just a lot of interest in anhydrous type equipment in FarmSim. And so it's really awesome to see a modder that's focusing on some of those mechanics. And so I hope you'll go and check out Forward Agriculture on Facebook. So let's jump back into the seeder here and take a quick look. We can see that our anhydrous ammonia is going down a little bit faster than our seed here still. But we've already made a full pass all the way down the length of this field, and we're at 97%. And so we're going to be able to cover just a lot more acres with this setup than we were with the dry fertilizer. And because we're maxing out the seeds in this air cart, it means that we're going to get a lot farther from a seed perspective in the air cart as well, where typically I think it was more like a 60-40 split between fertilizer and seeds in the air cart. Now we've got 100% seed capacity in this air cart, and just looking at these percentages, I know I'm going to be able to knock this field out without needing to refill. And, you know, honestly, that's really exciting to me, because the refill is quite a bit of downtime with these seeders. You've got to do quite a bit of work to get everything topped off. And so this is really exciting for this larger scale farm. I think that I could get a lot farther with 2 setups like this and knock our acres out a lot quicker than what we were running last season on the farm here. So I'm really excited to get to put this through the paces. The seeder is the same width as the Bourgeois seeders that we were using. And so from that perspective, we're covering the same amount of working area as we were with the other setup. We're just going to be able to get it done a little bit faster because we won't have to stop quite so often. But we better jump back over here and check on our combines. I suspect everybody's all full up while we've been down here goofing off with the seeder. Yep. Luckily, everybody's augers are pointing in the correct direction to get unloaded. So let's go ahead and grab all this canola here real quick and get our harvesters moving again. So we managed to get those 2 combines moving here out in the field, but we filled up the grain cart before we could get to the 3rd combine here. And so we're just gonna top off this semi real quick, and then we'll get that 3rd combine moving again. And then we're gonna have to take these semis up and get them unloaded, because I think this is gonna fill up both of these both of these semis. All right, let's get going here. We've got to get this combine moving. We're not quite able to get everything out of the grain cart here, so we're gonna be getting filled up here right quick. And I really want to go back out and check on that seeder here again. So let's go. It looks like we've got 1 pass here left on this field. I don't understand what this combine's doing sitting in this direction in this particular space. It's a little bit strange to me, but whatever, we'll figure it out. He's not actually full. He just got confused, it looks like. But since we're here, oh yeah, he's barely full at all. We'll go ahead and let him get what he has in his hopper put into the grain cart, and then we're just gonna go turn him around and take off the last of the row here. It looks like it's gonna be 1 pass, maybe a little bit more, we'll find out. Looks like we can just tackle it. Perfect. Alright, so with this all topped off here, I think we're going to probably leave this guy here. We don't have that much left on our other 2 fields, so let's grab this grain cart and get the 10T emptied out. And since that is a lease, I really don't want to put too many more hours on it. I think we're coming up on pushing past the hours that we have allocated on it anyway. And so it did allow us to really knock out some of our acres a lot faster than we would have with just the 2 90s. I do like the look and style of this 10T a lot. The joystick driven cab versus the steering wheel is definitely an interesting change. And I think we're gonna leave this grain cart here for the time being. We've got just a few passes left. Actually, let's go ahead and we'll empty these guys out real quick since they're facing the right ways. And then we'll go get these trucks emptied and check on our seeder. It's looking like we've got just 1 more pass here for combine number 2. Hopefully that's the right width. Even if it's not, it'll just be a sliver coming back. So I'm confident that combine number 2 is gonna make it down and back before needing to be refilled now. And we're just gonna cut across the field here and see if we can catch up with combine number 1 as he gets to the end row here and get him emptied, although it looks like he's getting full here and is gonna be waiting for us anyway. He's got quite the scraggly rows here on the angled part of the field. So cleaning that up is going to be a little bit interesting. We might have to help him out just a bit. While that's emptying though, let's go back up here and take a quick peek at our seeder. The setup is working so nicely. I definitely like how it looks. I'm loving those fat tires on the back. It's just a really good looking rig. Lots of detail here. I love all the hoses. I love that it was edited to have the hose connections going through the cart and into the seeder. And so, nothing but good things to say about this whole setup. And we're pretty much going to be wrapped up with harvest for this season. We just got to get all of our equipment emptied and put our grain into the bins and take a final look at our total yields for the year. All right, we've got the last little bit of canola here off of the corner of this field. So let's get this combine ran up to our staging area here, get it dropped into the grain cart, and we can get all of this grain dumped into our silo system and take stock of how much canola we brought in total for the year. Luckily, most of our crops we're going to be able to sell during the winter months here, and so we should be able to pay down a good chunk, if not all of our debt, over before we roll over into next spring. All right, we've got the last of our canola going in here. It's been quite a busy harvest here. We're all topped off here, so let's just pull this truck up, get it parked here alongside the other. We're gonna have a lot of equipment cleanup to do here. And if we pull up our silo here, you can see we came in just shy of 11,000 bushels of canola, and that matches up with our 11,400 and something bushels of wheat and 3,700 bushels of barley. And so we are in a pretty good spot here. I can't wait to see how well this performs on the market. And I'm just realizing we've still got 1,400 bushels of canola here in the grain cart that we need to put into the silo system. We'll run this up to the yard, but we can just do that math here. 11,000 plus another 1,400. So we're at almost 12,500 bushels of canola total. Feeling pretty good about harvest this year. And so with that, let's make one final check here on our seeder. It looks like we're on the final round. One more pass here along the driveway to do, and we've hardly scratched the surface of our seed and anhydrous. And so this rig is going to be able to just keep going. I think I probably need to check on the seed usage rates here, although I will say it's probably going down slower because we have so much more seed in this cart than you normally would. Normally, we would only be using one of these hoppers for seed compared to all three of them at this point. And so I'm sure that's playing into our perceptions here. But either way, this is probably my new favorite seeding setup. I'm thinking we're definitely going to be leveraging this rig to keep going here. We may even have to think about picking up another one of these and trading in our Burgo setups. Or maybe we'll see if we can get something similar to this set up on our Burgo seeders. As always, if you've enjoyed the episode, drop a like. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe for more daily farm sim content. That's all for today. Kedrick, out. Right after we take off this headland pass. I don't want to be churning around into the telephone poles. Why did we not turn it on? Oopsie. And luckily, most of these crops we're going to be able to sell during the winter months here. Oh,